All right, time to get this 8 o'clock hour up and rolling. Brought to you by Paul Industries out there on the Loving Highway. All you got to do is go by the SEMA 804 Loving Highway, 549-8100. And they will do all those DOT and car inspections for you. They also build hydraulic hoses and fittings of all sizes. Go by and see them at Paul Industries at 804 Loving Highway. Well, that taxi pulls up every Wednesday about this time, and Joe, the Bryan Insurance guy, steps out. Good morning, sir.
He sounded very Arnold Schwarzenegger-like, all sizes.
All sizes, that's right. Yes. It's not a tumor.
Did you hear he's coming back? It's like a 120-year-old Terminator.
Wow.
Yeah, just keep beating a dead horse.
Schwarzenegger is, did I just say Schwarzenegger? Stallone is doing a new movie, him and Robert De Niro.
Rocky 50?
Yeah, Rocky 50. So, but hey,
does he battle some old dude at the old folks' home?
Old habits are hard to die.
Wow, boy, they are.
Yeah. Well, back in the day,
way back
in the day when I was going to college, we were living
Rode
in
buggies.
Yes.
Oh.
Before the internet, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It was before the internet. But we got back we were living in Louisiana. We were living in a, I guess what you would call an apartment complex. And it was not in the, I guess you said the nicest neighborhood ever. But nevertheless, it was what it was. And, one of the things my wife working in an insurance agency, Bryan Insurance Agency, by the way, she hooked us up with renter's insurance because,
right.
You never know as renting something. You don't own the building. You can't really do a lot. But, you got content. You got all kinds of stuff. Renter's insurance is a pretty important deal.
It is. And a lot of people don't think about it, whether you're at a, apartment complex. Obviously, you're going to need something, but also when you're renting a house as well. We get into this a little bit too, where, for example, maybe mom and dad own a house here in town, or brother, sister own a house here in town, and you're just living there. You're maybe you're not even paying them rent, but they just say, hey, I own this house. You guys can live there and, move your stuff in. You still need renter's insurance, because let's just look at it from time of loss type thing. Gosh forbid the thing burns down, blows away. If you don't own the home, anything in that home, that you brought to the house. So I kind of look at it as the U-Haul. Anything you brought with you to that house in the U-Haul that you moved in. Soup to nuts, glasses, dishes, chairs, couches, all that good stuff. All that property of yours needs to be covered on a renter's policy, because at time of loss, they're going to come in and say, okay, who owns the home? Bob and Sue own the home. They're going to cover that from the dwelling standpoint. But if you don't own that home, anything in it that's yours is not going to be covered unless you have a renter's policy. So renter's policies are usually pretty cheap. What we try to do is guesstimate and estimate how much stuff you actually have in there, value wise, whether it be 15, 20,000. Some folks may have 70, 80,000. Just everybody's different. So we got to look at it, and we'll say, okay, let's look at that. We want to cover that, but we, the stuff, but we also want to cover things like, things that are kind of coming up a little bit with the economy the way it is, thefts and break-ins. Not only, while crime is down here in Graham, it's not down in other parts of the area and other parts of the state. So, having coverage for somebody breaking in and stealing your stuff, you need to have some coverage for that. But also liability claims are up on the rise as well. So it's one of those times, as the economy doesn't get going as much as you'd like it to. Kind of, the folks that lurk in the night are looking to make a profit off of you, and liability, suing you for being liable of something is something that folks look to do, and thefts and all that. So you want to make sure you have coverage for that. Somebody comes in and steals something of yours or what have you. So apartment complexes typically require it. They also typically will require you to have at least $100,000 worth of liability, and that goes for in the event you do something. There was a story I always remember of a gentleman that lived in an apartment complex in the Metroplex. I guess he worked nights, and the apartment caught on fire, ended up damaging 4, 5, 6 units. And they interviewed the guy after, once they got out there, and they interviewed the guy where the apartment fire started. And he said, yeah, I work nights. I came home, put some food on the stove to start cooking, and I fell asleep, and it caught the apartment on fire. I mean, that's kind of a clear admission of guilt. You probably shouldn't have done that on live TV, but hey.
No.
But in situations like that, the apartment complex wants to make sure that there's enough coverage to help offset some of the costs that it's going to take to rebuild that place and move those people out and stuff like that. And that kind of leads me to the next thing with renter's insurance. When you're dealing with either an apartment complex or even a home, you have loss of use coverage very similar to having a regular homeowner's policy in the event something happens. So let's say you're living next to the guy that started the fire while he fell asleep, and your unit is damaged, or your neighbor's house next door burns down and your house is damaged that you're living in. There's coverage to help you find another place for things like new deposits on power, new moving, things of that nature. There's costs built into that policy that give you money to go do that. So it's not like, hey, you know what? Next door burned down, not my fault, but I got to move. So
right.
Who's going to help me pay for that? It's built into that renter's policy to kind of help offset some of that cost.
Well, there's a lot of things about renters policy we don't think about, like somebody burning down the whole place, not your fault. But one thing I remember about it, and we'll see what you say. It wasn't that expensive.
No,
I mean,
really
it was kind of like. The way Sonia compared it to, it was kind of like buying the motorcycle insurance when it comes to car insurance, stuff like that. It wasn't all that expensive.
Yeah, it really isn't. Just, again, everybody's rates vary, but we'll typically run numbers. Average contents coverage on a renter's policy is anywhere between, like I say, $15,000 and $30,000. We typically see the costs on those per year. They're going to range anywhere from about $150 to $210 a year. That's it.
Wow.
For a renter's policy.
That's not bad.
There's also other discounts you can get on top of that. We talked last week about bundling. If you take your renters and your auto policy and bundle those together, you can also get an umbrella policy to go over the top of that. So you can get discounts when you bundle that stuff together. And it's a good idea to take a look at. It's dirt cheap. Mm-hmm. $150 to $210 a year, pretty cheap to cover the stuff that's in your apartment and your rental that you're living in, and it makes good sense. The biggest thing we see, like I said earlier, is where maybe mom and dad or a family member own a home and you're just living there. You don't actually own the home. And a lot of folks say, they have a homeowner's policy.
Right.
Well, that homeowner's policy only covers that dwelling. At time of loss, they're very particular about, so if Rick's living in a house that I own and that house burns down, they're going to come out and say, okay, who owns the home? Well, I own it. Well, who's living in it? Well, Rick's living in it. Okay, so Rick's stuff's not covered on my homeowner's policy or on my landlord policy. It just doesn't work that way. So you don't want to find out after the fact that, you mean my stuff's not covered.
Right.
So you want to talk to your agent, give us a call, let us take a look at your situation and see where we can, make suggestions for you, see where there may be holes in your coverage. It's a good time to take a look at your auto policy as well. Let's look at that umbrella and just make sure there's no holes in your walls that surround your castle. When I say castle, it's all the stuff that you've worked so hard to earn and keep and so forth. So you want to make sure that we build those walls high enough so that the folks trying to get at your stuff are not able to get to it. And the best way you can do that is with insurance.
Yeah, just easy to do. Give them a call and talk to them about it. Renter's insurance is not expensive.
Nope.
And it's great peace of mind also. And it's a real simple thing to do. I mean, we went through it, so go check it out at Bryan Insurance. Now, Joe, folks can get a hold of you. I know they got numbers, websites,
sure.
all kinds of stuff.
Yep, 549-2525. You can come on up to the second floor of Sierra Bank Building. Be more than happy to take a look at that for you. You can go to our website, Bryan with a Y, BRYAN. ins.com, or just call, swing by, make an appointment. You can also fill out some stuff online where if you want to kind of put your information down, have somebody get a hold of you, you can do that as well. And be more than happy to sit down with you, go through your stuff, make sure you're covered the way you need to be. Life insurance is also something that we'll take a look at for you. We're going to ask every single person out there, make sure you have life insurance to cover your loved ones when, gosh forbid, something happens to you. So give us a call, visit the web, let us take a look at what what you got, and let's make sure you're covered the way you need to be.
Get it done at Bryan Insurance. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rick. See you next time.
And we're going to get that Paul Industry 8 o'clock hour up and rolling. Golden Earring, John Mellencamp to get things started. Stay tuned.